Good morning, everyone. Happy Memorial Day 2017. I'm Harry SHOVLIN, and I will be your Master of Ceremonies for today's program. Please stand for the posting of the colors and remain standing for the posting of the POW-MIA flag, the national anthem, and the invocation. Color Guard, present colors. Post POW-MIA flag.
See by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Almighty God, today we offer our gratitude for all the men and women who have served our country in defense of freedom. For their sacrifice of time, talent, and life, we pay them homage. Help all who have gathered here to remember those whose sense of dedication and patriotism led them to preserve the democratic way of life we enjoy. Enable us to follow their lead and do all that we can to further the cause of peace in the world. To this end, we seek your blessing. Amen. Amen.
Please be seated. We're here today to honor, to pray for, and to learn from the sacrifices made by the men and women who gave their lives while serving in the armed forces. We're here to meditate and to remember community members who died protecting our way of life. You have to remember, currently, only 1% of our population in the United States of America is wearing a uniform protecting us. On the other hand, 8% of us, of the total population, are military service veterans. So we're not talking about a huge number of people when it comes to the total. But the few have given much. Okay, at this time, I would like to introduce our mayor, David Tarter, who is going to give us some welcoming remarks, and he's going to recognize some of our local elected officials and some other personalities from Falls Church. David?
Thank you very much. Okay. On behalf of the city, I'd like to welcome you to the 2017 Falls Church Memorial Day celebration. I'm delighted to be part of this special day. Before we get started, I'd like to recognize some of my colleagues from government. I've got most of the city councils here: Dave Snyder, Letty Hardy, Phil Duncan, got the Commissioner of Revenue, Tom Clinton, Letty Hockaberry from Planning Commission, our city manager and assistant city manager, Wyatt Shields and Cindy Messner. So I'm sure I've omitted some of them, my apologies. The nationwide observance of Memorial Day has its roots in the aftermath of the Civil War, when family members and survivors of that terrible conflict took time in the month of May to decorate the graves of fallen soldiers. Memorial Day, or Decoration Day, as it was known in those days, was observed both in the northern and southern states, and here in Falls Church. Through 2 world wars, the Cold War, and wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, Memorial Day has been a time to come together to honor all of the soldiers, sailors, airmen, airwomen, Marines, and members of the Coast Guard and Merchant Marines who gave their lives for us. Everything we do today, the fun run, the parade, this celebration, is done in the memory of our fallen heroes and the values for which they fought. You know, the ancient Greeks used to argue over what was the greatest virtue. Plato thought that wisdom was the most important. But I think courage is the foremost virtue, specifically the courage to act. The veterans we honor today had this quality. They stood up to fight aggression, genocide, and terror, and paid the ultimate price. And although most of us will never serve in a battlefield, we can learn by their example. We can be bold and live our lives with courage and compassion. Let us go forth, inspired by their sacrifice, with renewed vigor to stand up for what we believe in, always do what is right, and live, as H. Jackson Brown said, so that when your children think of fairness, caring, and integrity, they think of you. In 1915, in the early months of World War I, Colonel John McCrae of the Canadian Expeditionary Force wrote the poem In Flanders Field. Its opening lines refer to the fields of poppies that grew among the soldiers' graves and the carnage of Belgium. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow, between crosses, row on row. This year, Barb Cram, along with the Veterans Council and the local American Legion Post, have provided the silk poppies we wear today. Barb has done so much for our community and is recognized today as the Grand Marshal. Is Barb here, by the way? She was here. Barb, we're going to give you a round of applause whether you're here or not. I'd also like to acknowledge some of the others who made this celebration possible. Thank you to the Greater Falls Church Veterans Council, the local American Legion Post, and the Veterans of Foreign Wars who organized this ceremony. The Daughters of the American Revolution for the lovely flowers. The Falls Church Concert Band, led by conductor Robert Little. Thank you for the wonderful music. Sergeant Major Robert Petillo for your beautiful singing voice. Master Gunnery Sergeant John Abbracciamento for the taps you'll be playing later on. Our keynote speaker, Virginia Senator BRYCE REEVES, our keynote speaker, is right over here, who has served our nation as an Army Ranger and our state government with distinction and dedication. It's good to have you with us today. Father Brian Bashista from St. James Catholic Church, thank you for that moving invocation. Chris Madison, Danny Schlitt, and the rest of the Parks and Rec Department in the back. Our Master of Ceremony, Harry SHOVLIN, who has organized this special event every year since 1994. And finally, thank you all for coming and being with us this special day. Enjoy this wonderful celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Tarter. We're going to move right along here with remarks from Bob Smith, who is chairman of the Veterans Council.
Thank you, Harry. I think, first of all, I'd like to recognize all the members of the Greater Falls Church Veterans Council, the American Legion. Would you guys please stand if you're a member of Post 130 or American Legion Post 225? Veterans of Foreign Wars 9274, or the Catholic War Veterans, and the Republic of Vietnam veterans as well. Together we meet every other month, and we continue to plan events, not only for this event, but for Veterans Day. And we have a Veterans Picnic, which is held here always the day before Columbus Day. So if you're a veteran, come on, it's all free for all veterans. It's all paid for by the Bentley's restaurant. And they come out and do the cooking too, amazing. And all the other volunteers, that just unbelievable amount of support it comes from the veterans that live in this community and put things together. Earlier, some of you received a POW MIA update. If you haven't gotten it, you want to. Hi, Ms. Cleanbill. And you'll want to take a look at that. There is a movement right now to reduce some of the funding that would cause us to not be able to have enough opportunity to go out and bring back some of the remains. And there is a message on one of those pages asking you to take a little action to see that that isn't going to occur. I just wanted to point that out. And we have 1,621 veterans that have not been returned. We won't get all of them back because many that went down into water are just not going to be retrievable. That's about 365, if I recall. So, but we should be going after the remainder of them and continue to do so. So with that, I guess, Harry? Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Mayor Tarter just finished recognizing some local dignitaries and local government elected officials. At this time, I'm going to recognize some very special guests from out of the boundaries of the City of Falls Church. With us today is Ms. Julie Wilson, our current Ms. Virginia 2017. There she is standing back there. She was graduated from Marymount University. She's a professional dancer. She is the owner of 2 companies in the dance industry. She established a program, and this is the most important thing for you to remember. She established a program with Walter Reed Hospital called Toppers for Troopers, which helps patients create a new image after losing hair during an injury, illness, or treatment. Once again, thank you for all you do. Also with us is John Adams. I asked him where the cue was, but his parents, he told me his parents weren't that humorous. Okay? Okay, John Adams lives in Chesterfield County, Virginia. Most important thing is that he's married and has 4 sons. He's a VMI graduate. He's a survivor of Rat Year. Received a commission in the Navy. He served in the Pacific. He deployed to the Middle East and Central America. He's in private practice currently, laboring as an attorney. And he is currently running for the office of Attorney General. John, please stand. Okay. Our guest speaker. We're very fortunate to have as a guest speaker State Senator Bryce Reeves. Senator Reeves, and according to his bio, I sort of rearranged it a little bit. The most important thing that I can say about him is that he's married to Ann and has 2 children. Okay, so let's start off with that. He's a graduate of Texas A&M University. He was graduated with honors. Is there a second one here? God, all right, there we go. He was graduated with honors and received the Distinguished Military Graduate designation upon graduation. He was commissioned a second lieutenant, United States Army, and served as an airborne ranger in the infantry. And we'll talk later about, men who jump out of perfectly good airplanes. After serving in the Army, he worked in Prince William County as a police officer, and then he was promoted to detective. During the past 16 years, he and his wife, Ann, have run a few small businesses in the Prince William, Spotsylvania County areas. In November 2011, he won the election, which allowed him to become a Virginia state senator, where he currently serves. If there is a committee down in Richmond at the Senate level that has the word military or veteran in it, he is either chairing it or he is on it. So that's extremely commendable, and it's one of the reasons why he's here today, too. He has been presented a variety of awards by a variety of conservative organizations. Without any more introduction, I give you Senator Bryce Reeves.
Thank you very much. See if I can keep my water there. Drink water. That's what my sergeants would tell you all the time. Drink water. It's hot. I don't know if you all know it, but there are some pictures up here, I think, of some fallen heroes, and I see that, and it's about to get me too emotional to even speak. So if I start crying, it's because these are up here. So listen, good morning, or good afternoon, I should say, but happy Memorial Day to everyone. Looks like the weather's going to hold off. It's good to see my good friend John Adams. The only thing I can tell John Adams is go Army, beat Navy. So I'm not trying to offend anybody today, but I've seen him crisscross in the state lately. Listen, it's a great day to be an American. It's a great day to be a veteran. Today we gather to honor the men and women who have given their lives in service to this great nation. And one of the greatest honors that I've had in my life was to wear the cloth of our country as an infantry officer, as an airborne ranger. And I guess you could say that service is in my blood. And the reason I say that is that every male member of my family has worn the cloth of our country. I have 6 great uncles that served during World War II. 5 of them made it home. 3 off the beaches of Omaha and Utah, and the other 2 out of the Pacific. But unfortunately, we left 1 in the Pacific. And I'd like to take a second, because this is Memorial Day, where we talk about those who have fallen in service of our country. So I want to read just a little bit of portion about, in 1944, the newspaper article from one of my great uncles. PFC James Reeves of Lott, Texas, entered service in December of 1942. He went overseas to the Pacific Campaign in June of 1943. He was wounded on the island of Leyte in the chain of islands in the Philippines on October 23, 1944, and returned to duty that December. On March 23rd, Private Reeves was killed by a hidden enemy machine gunner after participating in the liberation of a little town called REMEMBRANCE. The Purple Heart Award has been received by his mother. I got to tell you, I feel extremely proud. To come from a long list of veterans in my family who have given so much so that I have the opportunity to stand here today. You know, as a former infantry officer, I know the meaning of duty, of honor, and of country. And I understand the sacrifices that to keep this nation free. In my opinion, honoring and remembering our veterans and those who have fallen should not be a one-day occurrence or even on a Veterans Day. It should be every day. Practice it day in and day out. You see, the reason men and women who serve and give their life are varied for special reasons, but the fact that they stood up and they said today, and it was mentioned earlier about 1%, send me, especially in a time of conflict. The probabilities of being deployed overseas have never been greater. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, many of you probably don't even know, we have sent almost 18,000 of your neighbors who serve in our Virginia National Guard forward in theater. I've had the privilege to go with our Major General Williams and Sergeant Major of the National Guard over into theater and see our men and women from Virginia proudly serving. You know, becoming a member of the military is a big decision. But what it takes from them is truly the best that they have, and it's the best that we have. And life in the service of your country is just not easy. But it's that sense of duty, that sense of ethos that causes people to take and raise their right hand and swear an oath to support and defend the Constitution. The Constitution, not a political party, but the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. In the book of Matthew 5:9, it says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God." Every service member we honor here today was a peacemaker. They worked to protect us, to protect our freedoms and our liberties. They left their families behind voluntarily and put themselves in harm's way so that their loved ones, their friends, their coworkers, and complete strangers could live in life in peace. I know that mere words of gratitude that I give today cannot fill the void left by the death of a loved one killed in combat. But I will tell you this, no matter if they were lost in the last century or last week, as you can see for me, the wounds are still there. But I hope it's days like today that remind us that their service was not in vain, that they made a difference in their country and the lives of the people they helped. Paying tribute to those who have fallen is so important. And know this, we will never forget. In the immortal words of Ronald Reagan, he said this. He said that the American Armed Forces is the greatest friend of freedom the world has ever known, and that remains true today. My thoughts and prayers are with the families of every fallen hero in our community, in our Commonwealth, and our great nation. And I'll leave you with this. Reagan also said one of these things, and I think he was just a tremendous patriot for our country. He said that we have the opportunity to stand for something in this country, for freedom, for fairness, and for liberty. Liberty. And that these are the things worth fighting for and worth devoting our very lives to. I'm so thankful that many of you that stood up and those that are families that are seated in the chairs today, as we pay tribute to the fallen, that we take time today to remember all those who have lost loved ones. Also, I want to remind you that just not in military uniform, but those who wear the badge. We had a slain state trooper just a couple days ago, and it seems like it's getting every day that we are losing those who serve and protect us. Keep their families in your prayer, because when you don't come home from a day on the shift, it's a bad day. Guys, I thank you so much. I want to thank the band for enduring the heat and what you're playing, the Sergeant Major and the Marine Sergeant that was here for singing. Thank you all for the opportunity to serve as your state senator. I am humbled. I am honored to be standing here. God bless you all. God bless Virginia, and God bless the United States of America.
Bryce. Thank you very much. Great job. Thank you, Bryce. At this time, we're going to ask the member of our Army choir to sing his second song.
While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you, Bob. Hold on one second, Bob. I just wanted to make everybody aware that that's the last time you're going to hear him sing in uniform because he's retiring, but he's not leaving us. Okay, so we're still going to have the person with us for a long time, I hope, just not in uniform. Thank you again, Bob. Now we're going to have the presentation of the wreath by the National Society of Daughters of the American Revolution. Jenny Inskeep is the Falls Church chapter leader, and she's going to be escorted by Howard Chatham of the Submarine Veterans Organization and Wayne Hines, a member of American Legion Post 130. Please come forward. Please stand. Slow down. You may be seated. Okay, at this time we have a few special announcements and also presentations. And Bob Smith, please come forward.
Well, I would be remiss if we didn't at least recognize the Winterbottom family.
Please stand.
Their son is one of the names that is on the wall now with the new plaques that were dedicated last Veterans Day. But it's a time to award too, and I'd like to ask our veteran's best friend to come forward to receive this plaque, and that would be Steve White. for his dedication and contribution in support of the programs on behalf of the American veterans. There you go.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Harry.
Before Father Bashista does the benediction, I would take a few minutes to basically read the names of the individuals who are on our plaque. That plaque basically gives the names of people who have died in the Falls Church area in uniform over a 200-year time period. I think it's only right that twice a year we mention their names. Too many plaques, too many names go unspoken, but not here in Falls Church. Starting with the Mexican War, Henry Fairfax, the Civil War, 1861 to 1865, Charles Henry Ashford, William Joseph Rowan Birch, Frank Brooks, Daniel French Delaney, Walter Kirby, William Kirby, Charles Newton, John Reed, James Roby, John Sewell, John Tourette. World War I, 1898, April 1898 to April 1898 to December 1898. We weren't even there a year, but check the number of men we lost in World War I and women. World War I, Stephen McGorty, Warner McIntosh, Arthur Morgan, Ralph Stambaugh, Walter Trevender. World War II, Corbin Braxton Bryan III, Daniel Budd, Willis Chin, Thomas Cunningham, William Fott, Roy Gilbert, Warner Hawley, John Custis, Norman Leopard, Joseph Madden, Lyndon Marshall, Paul Martin, Raymond Martin, Reuben Moffett, Joseph Patterson, Phillips Pergonde, Paul Rohrer, William Shears, Ralph Smith, Linwood Spencer, Benjamin Stallcup, James Taylor, Victor Turow, Edwin Ward, James Whitmer. Korean War, John Julian. Vietnam War, 1861 to 1975, 14 years. Sandro Barone, Ernest Beauchamp, Charles Bonnet, Victor Buckley, Peter Donnell, Walter Eads, George Hauntz, Lyle King, Arden Lieberger, Neil Monette, William Nanau, Darnell Payne, George Perry, Thomas Regan, Jeffrey Reich, Bruce Robinson, David Francis Strickler, brother of Michael Strickler, member of our color guard, John Stoller, William Sutton, Ronald Toward, Darrell Umholtz, Richard Weiss. And now, the 7 names of the 7 new additions to our wall, and let's make sure that it'll be the last of the additions to that wall. Okay, the Afghanistani War, 2001 to 2014. Harold Green. Notice we have not put rank on with their names. Harold Green. Stephen Mace. Ronald Rodriguez. The Iraqi conflict, March 2003, December 2011. Andy Anderson. Tenzin Denklim. Javier Oblias Prado Pena. Jonathan D. Winterbottom. his parents were recognized a few minutes ago. Okay. If you get a chance after the ceremony, take a look at those additional plaques. Okay. Before we move on to the final prayer, I would also like to just bring to people's attention that the men and one woman responsible for the creation of this memorial are no longer with us. Some of them are with us, but in a different capacity at a different cemetery. But I would like to just read their names too, because without them, we wouldn't be here today at this site having this ceremony. Tony Skirbo, represented by his son, Lou, right down in the crowd. Lou, please stand. There's been a Skirbo at every one of the 24 Memorial Day ceremonies, as well as the Veterans Days. Janine Smale and her husband, Paul Smale, they're buried in Oakwood. Janine was the French lady who basically, along with Tony, harassed City Council until they agreed to what they wanted. Jerry Miller, okay. Ed Strait. Now, one of the prime movers in the effort to get this built, Liam O'Clisham, I haven't heard from him in many, many years. He lives in New Jersey now, but he was instrumental. And I'm the surviving member of that committee. Also, locally, Memorial Day has morphed into more than just honoring the people who died in uniform. We also honor friends, relatives, neighbors, family members. And I'd like to mention a few individuals from the community, especially from George Mason High School, Middle School, just to recognize who left us this year. Richard White, Dinah Moore, Roger Neighborgall, Jim Trollinger, and Vesta Downer. And for those who might be interested, the ashes of Roger Neighborgall will be inurned, a new word I learned, inurned tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. at the Arlington Cemetery. If you have an interest in going to that event or that ceremony, just report to the administration building at 12:30. Okay. Father Bashista, please come forward.
Eternal God, the creator of all people, we gather on this Memorial Day to pay tribute to those men and women who have made the supreme sacrifice of life itself for the preservation of the freedom of our beloved nation, for their devotion to duty, for their willingness to accept the responsibility of a solemn, sacred mission. We give you thanks. And as on this day we remember and honor their lives, their deeds, and their deaths, may we again resolve that their deaths should not have been in vain, but may we as citizens of a nation founded upon faith in Almighty God stand firm to keep the peace that others have given their lives to win. Bless the loved ones of those whom we honor today. Fill them with pride that is truly justified and a comfort that can come only from you. We make these petitions in the name of Him who has given us life, peace, and freedom. Amen.
Thank you, Father. Please stand.
Present on.
Retire. Colors. Retire. POW MIA. You may be seated. Okay, the mayor has identified quite a few of the Recreation and Parks Department individuals responsible for doing all of this. Remember, it's our day off, it's their day on, okay? So they really put forth a great effort in putting on this particular day, not just this ceremony. But I would like to bring a particular attention to the two new plaques, and make sure before you leave, take a look at the new plaques. They were mounted by Michael Noyes under the direction of Chris Madison, two of my former students. So that's proof that I taught them something that was very useful and that they're still using as adults. I taught them in middle school, as well as wrote herd on them in high school too. It's with a great deal of honor that I will get the opportunity to work with my former students and get proof of my labors. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate your attendance and your participation. And please, talk to our guests before they get away. Please, they came from other parts of the state other than Falls Church. So make sure you thank them for being here. All right, see you on Veterans Day. Bye now.